Hello again. Welcome to another Fresh from the Theater review. I just got back from seeing the new Child's Play movie, a remake of the 1980s horror classic, and this was a really well done, decent remake. Like everybody, when I first heard that there was going to be a remake of Child's Play, that they were rebooting the Chucky franchise, I didn't have as angry a reaction as some reviewers, but I did roll my eyes a little, thinking, oh, another remake. But, like everybody, I was kind of swayed to give the movie a chance when I heard that Mark Hamill was going to be the voice of the new Chucky. That just piqued my interest, and while the trailers for this movie really didn't seem like anything special, the marketing they put in, especially little short clips they put out, like this twistedly funny claymation video where Chucky murders a bunch of other toys, it showed a bit of enthusiasm, and the idea of Mark Hamill as Chucky was just really interesting, so I thought, I'll give this movie a chance. And I went to see it, and do I think it's better than the original? No. Do I think it is great and stands on its own? Yes. This movie was very well done. It was directed by newcomers, Lars Klevberg, and it was written by Tyler Burton Smith, and I checked their IMDb credits. Before this, they'd only worked on short films and video games, and for first-time horror filmmakers, they really did a bang-up job here. This was a mostly solid film. It was pretty well structured. It had a good amount of horror and creepiness, and while it does not go the comedy route that some of the other Chucky sequels in the past have gone, there is a little comedy here, and there was one particular scene that made me just laugh out loud in the theater, and I was lucky that I got to see this movie in the theater alone, because if there were other people, I'd probably seem like an obnoxious asshole. But there was a really funny part that I'll get into later, and the differences between the original and the remake is the original was a supernatural horror film, while the remake is a sci-fi horror film. Well, it's not really being clarified as that. That's how I see it. This is pretty much a sci-fi styled horror film. The plot has a popular line of dolls known as the Buddy Dolls, put out by this company called the Kazlan Corporation. Kazlan makes a bunch of products that are all connected to the cloud, and the Buddy Doll is something for little kids that can also connect to other devices. It can help them get like cars, that kind of shit. And there is a immediate criticism that I felt when I saw the first images of the new Chucky. This film is from the producers of It, and like It, they pretty much made the monster of the film creepy looking from the get-go. I mean, yes, the original Chucky, even before he was revealed to be a killer, was kind of creepy looking, but he looked like the type of talking toy that you would get a kid back then. This doll just looks really fucking ugly and twisted, and you wonder who would make it look like that. But as the film went on, it got better, and the doll, the voice, they really made it work, especially the way it interacted with the other characters. And the opening scene takes place at the warehouse where the dolls are made in Vietnam, where we see this worker who appears to be having a breakdown and is being insulted and just put down by his boss, who tells him, even though he's firing him, to finish the doll he's working on. So, seeing how he's out of a job, he decides, fuck it, and this crazy guy just takes away all the safety precautions for the doll. Like, the doll is meant to interact with people, talk and build up a rapport, a connection. So he takes away everything that will prevent it from being kid-friendly or safe after a while. And then this guy commits suicide, so who's gonna know? And the doll is shipped out to America, and yes, I know it probably sounds a little stupid on paper and a little far-fetched, but keep in mind the original movie is about a serial killer using voodoo magic to transfer his soul into a doll to get revenge on the people who wronged him. So in the right hands, either of these stories can work very well, and I think, like the original, this film was in very good hands, and this movie, just want to mention this, is being distributed by Orion Pictures, who I'm honestly surprised are still around. It was just cool to see, and they're using their original classic retro logo. So I just think that's pretty fucking cool. And we cut to the main characters. The main characters are once again the Barkley family. Andy Barkley and Karen Barkley. This time played by Gabriel Bateman and Aubrey Plaza. And it's a little crazy to think of Aubrey Plaza playing the mother of a... I mean, I know she is old enough to play the mother of a 13-year-old, but we're so used to seeing her play much younger characters that it's a little weird to think of her, but she does a really good job here in her first few scenes with Gabriel Bateman as the new Andy. She seems like a stressed out, struggling to do her job well mom, struggling to keep her kid happy, and this Andy is older than the original. In the original, Andy was 6 and was really into getting a good guy doll. In this version, Andy is 13, and that was a major criticism people had when they saw the trailers. Why would a 13-year-old be into a talking doll? But they make it work here. Andy is a bit of a loner. He has no friends. He's apparently partially deaf in one ear. Needs a hearing aid. And his mom, he hates her boyfriend, who's a real asshole to him. So he's alone, and she doesn't know really, I guess, what to get him, and she knows he struggles with friends, and they apparently just moved. So she gets him it's the same doll from that factory, which was returned by a mom who thought it was not working well. And even though she knows it's not working well, she figures it should work just fine, and she gives it to Andy as an early present, and right away he points out, isn't this made for littler kids? But because his mom got for him, he doesn't, I guess, want to seem like a total dick, so he tries to work with it, and right away, and I like this, he acknowledges that the doll is kind of creepy, but the doll, which is meant to adapt to learn how to connect with others. The way Andy starts to warm up to Chucky in this film, despite how creepy he looks and talks with it, the way his mouth moves, it's believable considering just how alone and sad he is. They made it work, and it leads to him making some friends later on. He meets some other kids that live in the apartment building, and they are kind of taken by the doll and the fact that it doesn't have like a filter as far as language goes. It can swear if you ask it to, and can do almost anything they want it to. And at first it's cool, first they like it, and he trains Chucky to make creepy faces towards his mom's boyfriend. And the mom's boyfriend character really is a dick. When he first appears, it seems like maybe Andy just isn't warming up to him because mom's dating somebody new and might seem a bit sudden. But we see eventually, yeah, this guy, he is an asshole. He, it's unclear where the animosity started, but there's a scene where this guy, it seems like he's going to hit Andy, and he yells at him, he shuts the door, gets in his face, and this was, like, the stuff with Chucky could get really intense, but this scene was, honestly, the most intense scene in the film, because you really wonder, is he gonna hit the kid? And he says shit like, be a man and tell me you got a problem with me. Does all that crap, and you really feel sorry for Andy in this scene, and it's this scene that leads to the first really grisly death of the film. Chucky sees the way the boyfriend and other people talk or treat Andy, and he sees Andy, he keeps saying to Andy, "You're my friend," and when he sees people, man or animal, wrong Andy, he decides to go after them, and Andy, I guess because he has a conscience, realizes Chucky is dangerous and tries to get rid of him, and despite trying to get rid of him and even beating him down, Chucky, for the most part, does not see Andy as his enemy, and he keeps coming back to him, and there are some parts where he gets threatening near the end, but at the end, even near the end, his whole agenda is to remain friends with Andy, and the new Chucky in this film, yes, they made a mistake in making him look fucked up from the get-go, but Mark Hamill, his voice as Chucky, he almost never comes off as threatening. Even when he's attacking and killing people, he always comes off as calm, and yes, a talking doll with a soothing voice can creep a lot of people out, but the way he never really shows much anger or aggression in his voice, even when he's killing people, really makes the character work, and I just love how this film made it its own thing. And later in the film, Chucky is found after Andy tries to throw him out by this creepy electrician who spies on the tenants of the apartment complex, and he assembles him, and the guy has Caslin products, and he was able to make Chucky work in a way where he connects to other Caslin devices. And it gets a little far-fetched from here, but this is the type of movie where suspension of disbelief can really go a long way, and Chucky, now able to connect to other devices, is able to turn other Caslin devices into lethal weapons. It all comes together in a really big, blood-soaked finale, and this film, I definitely will recommend seeing it. And before I get into the spoilers, the last thing I just want to say is, if I have any non-spoiler flaws to give, the pacing can be a little rushed in the first half as far as getting to things, and when Andy makes friends for the first time, it's when he's in the hallway messing with Chucky, trying to teach him how to scare his mom's boyfriend, and the kids just randomly come across it, and they get really impressed, and they get really into the doll pretty much like that. And it pretty much goes the route of, hey, that's a cool doll, we're friends, and moving on. It just felt very rushed, and I'll be honest, the friend characters, for the most part, they're not horrible, but they're pretty underdeveloped, even though they stay all the way to the end. And while I think the opening does a good job of setting things in motion, it's another example of really rushing into things. And some of the characters have some stupid moments, as you'd expect, but the mom character, she's dating this guy who's a real asshole, like not just to her son, but he acts like a dick to her, and she seems kind of oblivious to it. Although I think there can be a simplified version of probably why she stays with this guy. Andy says to Chucky, "Why does she stay with him? He's such an asshole." And my first thought when I saw this was, well... Anyway, these are all my non-spoiler thoughts. If you don't want the rest of the film spoiled, then pause here, go see the movie, and if you're interested, come back and watch. Alright. Let's get into this, and hope so far I haven't been too rapid with my talking. It's a bit hot out, makes it hard to focus, and I still get a bit tongue-tied after all these years. And first thing I want to talk about is the gore in this film. The gore is fucking fantastic. The first major kill, like, there is an animal death in the film. There's like a real bitchy cat in the house. But the first major death is with Andy's mom's boyfriend, Shane. And after the scene where you're wondering if he's going to hit Andy, he goes home, and then we discover this guy is married and has 2 kids. And yeah, you are really rooting for him to die. And it's an interesting thing. Most of the killings in the first half are for people who have wronged Andy. And so, while Chucky is doing a bunch of bad shit, this is an interesting thing to see how he's doing all these killings for who he perceives as his friend. And while the Shane character is home, he greets his family with, "Hey!" And then he goes out to take down Christmas decorations. And he complains like a bitch, going, "Gotta take down these fucking lights." And then Chucky comes in and subtly knocks him down the ladder, twisting him in the lights, breaking his ankle, and every moment this guy's in pain, you're just enjoying it a lot. And then we get, like, the first major gore scene in this film is Chucky running the boyfriend over, running over his head with a fucking lawnmower. It's like that supposedly deleted scene from Misery that we never got. And we see what it looks like the day after, and his face is gone. And then we cut to Andy waking up from an alarm clock, and we get a scene that is both disturbing, but I think it's hilarious. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. The scene where Andy wakes up, he finds that Chucky, thinking Andy would like it after hearing him talk about how he wishes Shane would go away, Chucky skinned Shane's face and put it on a watermelon, and then he put a bow on top to make it look like a present. And as he does with almost any other horrible action that he does, thinking it's for Andy in a good way, he's like, "Can we be friends? Can we play? Are you happy?" And the scene where Andy sees the head and freaks out is, it's funny because he doesn't notice it at first. And scared, he calls the 2 friends he made, Phelan and Pug. Yeah, they make a joke about how their names are weird. He invites them over, and their reactions are just so fucking awesome. Just, they freak out. Bug throws up in a trash can, and they're like, "The warning signs were all there!" why didn't we notice? And they're just freaking out, and they try to get rid of it. I lost it, and I was just laughing, head back and all. And after this, they jump Chucky and try to rip him up and throw him down the garbage chute. And we see this creepy electrician who we find out has rigged cameras in some of the apartment residents' bathrooms to spy on them. He looks kind of like the fat pedophile chef from Sleepaway Camp. He's like fat and he's wearing a tank top. And after seeing Chucky, he takes him to his basement shop and he puts them back together and adds an update that allows Chucky to connect to other products. And after spotting Karen about to get in the shower, Chucky connects to the devices and sets this guy up to just die, and with his knife cuts him. And the way this guy dies, like he's getting cut on the ankles, so he gets up on a table that has a buzzsaw in it, and when Chucky turns on the buzzsaw, the guy grabs a pipe, and then Chucky heats everything up, causing the guy to drop, and he falls on the table, and the saw splits him in half, starting at the crotch up to his gut. Just... God damn, this is a fucking awesome horror movie. I know I probably sounded awkward there, I'm a little tired, but I love this film, and the next death is the only one that I honestly felt a little sad to see. There's an old woman in the building who Andy is, I guess, a little friendly with, and Chucky spied on him with this woman and heard her call Andy her new best friend. So, out of jealousy, Chucky gets her into a Kazlan car, and it's a bit far-fetched, but once again, suspension of disbelief, and he controls the car and traps her inside and sends it on a joyride around a parking lot. And this is just even though she was a little bit of the batty old lady type, her death was really sad, especially because she's the mother of one of the main characters, the cop from the original movie. He's back in this film, Detective Mike Norris. He's now played by Brian Tyree Henry, and the Mike character... Well, the Mike character was one of the weaker characters in the original. He got better in that film as it went on. This Mike, like the friends, Phelan and Pug, Mike is really not really developed that well, and he seems in an almost creepy, I just met you, I don't know who you are way, invites Andy to come over for dinner to him and his mother. And at the end of the film, like, he shows up, and at first he thinks maybe, like in the original, maybe Andy could be involved in the killings. And at first you think Mike's dead, and then at the finale where everything just goes fucking nuts, like there's a new version of the Buddy doll coming out, and Chucky sneaks in and slits the throat of Karen's boss at the store while he's wearing a Buddy doll costume to promote the products. And this leads to another great gore moment, and also kind of funny where, holding on to his wound, the giant fake head he's wearing falls off and blood just spurts on this little girl with her grandma. And then Chucky controls all the devices, products, new dolls in the store, and sends them on a rampage, slaughtering all of the people who were waiting in line to buy the new dolls. And Andy is joined by his friends, Phelan, Pug, and this black kid named Omar, who really feels like he was shoehorned in there. I know I'm bringing him up late, but up until this point, he had just kind of been a side character, and he kind of went for the asshole, borderline bully route at one point. And it's kind of weird that they brought him into the finale. He just shows up, and well, Phelan and Pug are not really developed that well. They at least, like, they played a central part with Andy in many scenes. Omar just comes in pretty much the fuck out of nowhere. And the kids, I guess because I thought kids should get a badass moment, fight with Andy. And the Phelan character gets the badass chick moment of the film. And Andy's like, I'm gonna follow her. And just as they're about to leave, Chucky hacks into the TVs and shows Andy that he somehow was able to duct tape Karen and is now holding her at his mercy. And Andy, in a moment of bravery, leaves his friends and goes back into the store, even though there's no way out, and tries to face off against Chucky. And this sequence, it's a great finale. He sees his mom tied up, and Aubrey Plaza, Gabriel Bateman, they deserve a lot of praise for their performances in this movie, especially in the finale where you feel the fear, sadness, anger, just all these emotions coming from them. And all Andy wants to do is save his mother, and his mom is scared for Andy, and you can tell if she wasn't tied up, she would try to help him. And Chucky, he is saying in his robotic but still kind of emotion. This is his most emotional moment where he says stuff like, I'm your friend, they all leave you. You said so yourself. And he plays clips of his friends talking about how after the whole incident with the head, talking about whether or not Andy actually did it, if he lied to them about the doll. He plays a clip of Andy's mom talking to Shane. When Shane talks about Andy being difficult, she goes, Andy is different. When she was trying to get him to stay with her. And it's a really emotional sequence. Just, you can feel like Chucky, while he is doing all these horrible things, like, I find myself wondering just how evil is Chucky in this. I mean, yeah, he's murdering people, butchering them, and skinning them after being inspired by seeing the kids watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, of all movies. Yeah, there's a scene featuring Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and it's pretty cool to see the kids watching that. And anyway, back on track. Chucky is doing all this because some spiteful employee fucked with his programming, and well, there is a moment where he tries to cut Andy. He's doing it because the creepy electrician from earlier cut Chucky open to fix him after Andy and his friends tried to throw him out and really beat him to bits. So he's doing all of this for Andy, for what he sees as friendship, and you feel like, and they establish the buddy dolls are successful products with other people. It just makes me wonder, just how bad is Chucky? I mean, Andy, I feel like if Andy did not have a conscience, he might turn and join Chucky and be with him on his side. But he has a conscience. He loves his mom despite all of her dumb moves and bitchiness. And the friends realized they were wrong, and Andy forgave them. So, he has a conscience. That's the only thing that holds him back, I think, from going along with the killer doll. That's just my opinion. And he and his mom, all the three of the primary characters, Andy, Karen, and Detective Mike Norris, they all play a part in destroying Chucky in the end. Which I thought was cool. Like, they all get their moment in the spotlight. I have to wrap this up because there's not much time left on my memory card. So I'll just say, it was a kick-ass finale, very emotional, very well done. Mark Hamill's performance as Chucky, I don't think it's as iconic as Brad Dourif's performance. I mean, Brad Dourif had several movies to build this character and really create one of the most distinctive villains of the horror genre you'll ever see. And he gave Chucky a personality. Another minor flaw I have with this Chucky is because he's a badly programmed robot, it's debatable just how much of a personality he has. It all appears to be based on programming, and the original Chucky was a human being whose soul was in a doll. So he was a person, and he had his own thoughts and shit. So it's hard to know how much to look at this Chucky as a character, but Mark Hamill, he did a great job. He has a creepy yet soothing voice that almost, you listen to it, and almost, like, you can believe Andy would get comfortable with Chucky because it puts your guard down a little. And the Karen character, this character's a little inconsistent. She seems like a loving mother in the beginning, seems reasonably smart, and then becomes a little retarded when it comes to her boyfriend. But at the end, she showed she truly loves Andy, and she literally rips Chucky's head off, yelling, "No one fucks with my kid." I like seeing that, although I personally think Catherine Hicks, Karen Barkley, was a much stronger, loving mother. But Aubrey Plaza, she did a good, decent job, and Mike Norris, I give the actor, Brian Tyree Henry, credit. He's doing the best with what he has, but they really didn't give him much, and while he does play a part in destroying Chucky at the end, for a moment it almost seemed like they killed him off, and he just showed up at the end like they just remembered last minute that he had to be a part of it. And there's a moment where Karen affectionately rubs his shoulder, which I'm not sure that moment was earned in this film. Like, his relationship, even with Andy, who he shares more scenes with, was really not that well developed. I feel like they didn't use this character well. And at the end of the film, Andy now hangs out with his new friends, and they participate in burning Chucky's remains. And the last thing I'll say, throughout the film, we keep seeing these little spots for the Buddy dolls from the Kazlan Corp, and their figurehead is played by, very bizarre cameo, Tim Matheson. Yeah, I don't know, maybe the director was a real fan of Animal House, but Tim Matheson appears throughout the film, kind of like Samuel L. Jackson did in the remake of RoboCop. I don't know, maybe they took their cues from that, and he is advertising Buddy, and at the end we find out that the Kazan Corp is still going to produce the Buddy dolls, saying, "Our research shows that we are in no way responsible for what happened." And the film ends with a new line of Buddy dolls being set up to be shipped, and the camera zooms in on one, and it smiles, which is confusing. Did Chucky somehow transport his mind into another doll? Is there another fucked up product? Is this the same fucked up program? It's unclear, and it's a good cliffhanger, but a little confusing. But despite all that, this was a good remake. It had just enough of the original, but it did not try to be the original. It was its own thing, and honestly, I think it was pretty fucking awesome. Despite some underdeveloped characters, little rush pace, and there is a millennial joke in this film, but overall, good remake. Miles better than the Rob Zombie Halloween one, and I definitely recommend this film. On the 10-star scale, I'd give it a 7.5, and on the 5-star scale, I'd say a 4. I like this movie a lot, and I don't think it's gonna be regarded as a classic as the original. I could see more movies being made in this new franchise, but Don Mancini, the creator of the original Child's Play, is still making movies with his version of Chucky, and I hear there's rumors there might be a Chucky TV show in the works, so who knows what'll happen. I mean, these days we're getting sequels to movies that were remade, and they retcon all the sequels. So who knows, just check this movie out. It is definitely worth a watch, despite a few writing flaws, but I liked it, and I want to say, before I ramble on too much longer, I had a good experience at the cinema with this movie.